Imagine the following scene. A young woman, full of expectations, eagerly awaits the day she marked on her calendar with a red circle. After months of planning, economics, and dreams, it had finally been time to receive your new kitchen, tailored to transform your home. But what should be the day of celebration would become one of the greatest betrayals she could imagine. It was Saturday morning when the alarm clock played at 6 of the hour. In the bed next door, Gleb, her husband, muttered something incomprehensible and turned her face to the other side, burying herself under the covers. Sleep, now, Nadia thought, already standing, wearing his pants with energy. Today is the day. The kitchen reaches 9, and everything needs to be perfect. As he sinkled, she ran around the house, running cloth in the last corners, removing every grain of dust. Every detail had been meticulously planned, the clear tone of furniture, the synthetic stone bench, the built-in appliances. 6 months saving, researching, dreaming, and now, finally, the result of so much effort was on its way. Gleb appeared in the kitchen around 9, still with heavy eyes with sleep. Good morning, he murmured, serving his coffee. You woke up with the chickens today? Huh? Nadia, with the phone in hand, barely heard. They should have called to confirm, he said, looking at the 100th time the blank screen. Perhaps they are in traffic, replied her husband, indifferently, while preparing to leave. I'll solve some things. I'll be back for lunch. She stared at him, incredulously. But you promised to be here. How am I going to receive a loan? Gleb shrugged. Just tell the boxes and sign. Nothing much. Before leaving, he hesitated a moment on the door, as if he wanted to say something, but gave up. Nadia didn't even notice. Her heart was hit, telling the minutes until the arrival of the long-awaited kitchen. The hours passed. 9, deck, 11, nothing. The phone remained mute. Gleb calls went straight to the mailbox. Until, a half and a half, without enduring the anxiety, Nadia died to the store. Good morning. My name is Nadia Korolyova. I'm waiting for the delivery of my kitchen, but so far no one has appeared. On the other end of the line, a break. Then, the calm voice of the attendant. Wait a moment, yes. Here is delivery at 9 and a half at UF Florsal, 15, apartment 42. Signed by Mr. Gleb Korolyov. The words echoed like a blow. Forest Street, 15. It was the address of the mother-in-law. There must be a mistake, Nadia mumbled, feeling the floor open under his feet. No, madam, we have here a request for change of address, signed by her husband 3 days ago. He paid for the change. The world turned. The puzzle pieces suddenly fit. Gleb's strange behavior in the morning, the hurry to leave, the phone off. Without thinking twice, she took the car keys and left, her hands shaking with anger. 20 minutes later, he stopped in front of the mother-in-law's building. The scene he found was like a punch in the stomach. The ajar door, scattered boxes, voices and hammers coming from within, and there they were, Gleb, sitting on the couch with a guilty expression, and Irina Arkadievna commanding the installers like a general in battle. This closet here, more to the right, and the refrigerator gets better near the window. Nadia entered as a hurricane. What is happening here? Gleb cringed. The mother-in-law turned, with a fake smile on her face. Nadia, what a surprise! We are renovating my kitchen. My kitchen, she corrected, the trembling voice of fury, but one I paid with my sweat, which I planned for months to our house. Irina Arkadievna sighed, as if explaining something obvious to a child. Daughter, it is more logical to invest in a property of its own than in a rented that you can leave at any time. Gleb finally tried to justify himself. Nadia, me wanted for a long time, and we will not be forever in that apartment. She looked at him, her eyes burning. You told me we were gathering money to get into a financing, which was temporary, that we were building our future together. He lowered his head, and answered. The installers, embarrassed, stopped working. Nadia turned to them, the determination replacing tears. Stop everything right now. This kitchen is mine, and I demand that it be taken back to the original address of the contract. Silence. Everyone knew that was not just a discussion for furniture. It was a battle for respect, for dignity, for all that had been stolen without the slightest scruple. And Nadia would not leave without his victory. The team chief, a middle-aged man in robust constitution, opened his arms in a gesture of powerlessness. Sorry, but we have a signed statement hereby changing the delivery address. We already started the assembling. Nadia cut it in a firm voice. I paid for this order. I have the vouchers in the contract. The installer hesitated by choosing the words carefully. Technically, the contract is in the name of Gleb Alexandrovich Korolyov. He is the customer in the documents and who signed the change of address. The air left Nadia's lungs in a breath of indignation. It was true. In the salon, everything had been formalized in the name of Gleb. Because he had taken his documents that day, she had forgotten the ID card. Formally, he was the holder, but most of the value had come out of his sweat, his months and months of the nights in clear calculating every penny. Nadinka, do not make a scene, intervened Irina Arkadievna, the mellowest voice, but with a warning tone. Let's discuss this calmly. Gleb and I already think of everything. Trust me, it will be better for everyone. Have you ever thought? Repeated Nadia, as if the words burned his tongue. As always, isn't it? She turned to her husband, her eyes sparkling. Do you have a sense of what you did? I gave up 3 salaries in this kitchen. It was supposed to beat our investment in the future what we arranged. Gleb twisted his face, as if guilt bothered him physically. Don't overdo it. I'd also put money. 10%. Gleb, her voice cut the air like a blade. The rest is mine. Every ruble, every extra hour, every deprivation. He murmured evasive, but we are a family. What difference does it make from money? None, agreed Nadia, bitter, especially when this money can be used to reform Mom's apartment. Don't you? Suddenly, a crucial detail, the one that Gleb had clearly forgot to change the address, came to light in his memory. With firm hands, she opened the bank's app on her cell phone. There is a small detail you ignored, he said, fixing it with a jerking look. The second installment is only paid after delivery and verification of the goods. Remember? Gleb blinked confused. It was evident that the agreement had escaped his memory or his convenience. Nadia went on, displaying the phone screen. And that Munchie turned the device for everyone to see. It's on my personal account, not in our joint account. In mine, and I don't intend to transfer it. The team chief tense. Wait, is the payment option not complete? He flipped the invoice, the eyes stopping on the annotation. Pending payment, 40% of the amount to be settled in delivery. Exactly, Nadia confirmed. 120,000 rubles have not yet been paid, and they will not be unless this kitchen is delivered to the original address of the contract. Irina Arkadievna frowned. Gleb, you didn't tell me anything about it. How much do you miss? 120,000. Nadia replied for him without taking his eyes off his husband. Only by the furniture. The bench and appliances have separate accounts, also paid on delivery. The mother-in-law's face paled. This is a fortune. That's what I saved in 6 months, said Nadia, serena. They thought it can just steal this from me, changing an address. I wouldn't notice. No one stole anything, protested Irina Arkadievna, the flushed cheeks. Gleb, explain to your wife that this was a joint decision. Nadia crossed his arms. Joint? A decision made on my back, without my knowledge. His joint. Gleb. He remained silent, his eyes low, like a boy caught in the act. The installer coughs, uncomfortable. Excuse me, but we need to solve this. If the payment is not made, we will have to stop the service and consult the management. I can afford the rest. He rushed Irina Arkadievna, already taking off her wallet. It can't. No, said Nadia. She opened the portfolio she carried and handed the team head a certified copy of the power of attorney. According to the contract, the payment must be made by the customer, Gleb Korolyov, or by its official representative. She pointed to the document. Me, only me. The installer examined the papers and nodded. Everything correct. Without your signature and payment, we cannot proceed. Irina Arkadievna arrested, offended. This is blackmail. Gleb, say something. But Gleb was silent, finally understanding the trap he had set for himself. Nadia turned to the team. Disassemble what has already been installed, pack everything, and deliver to the original address. There I will make the check and make the payment. One moment, I intervened, the mother-in-law. And who will pay for new delivery and reassembly? These are additional costs. You, said Nadia, impassive. Or Gleb, it doesn't matter. I pay only for what is in the initial contract. This is absurd, exploded Irina Arkadievna. Gleb, will you let her talk to me like that? But for the first time, Gleb did not give in to his mother's imperative tone. He turned to her, the firm voice. Mother, Nadia is right. We act dishonestly. It's her money, and she has all the right to decide where the kitchen goes. The mother-in-law choked, incredulously. Are you on her side? After all I did for you? I'm on the side of justice, said Gleb, low, but without hesitation. We made mistakes. I made a mistake. Nadia looked at him, surprised. Never heard Tom in his voice a firmness that seemed strange on his lips. The team chief, trying to relieve the tension, suggested, I'll call the office and check the options. Maybe there is an intermediate solution. He walked away, phone in the air. The silence that was installed was heavy, suffocating. Nadia felt a strange void. Anger had gone, replaced by deep tiredness and a disappointment that hurt more than any. Shouting dot, she observed Gleb, pale and guilty, and Irina Arkadievna, with her lips tied on a thin line of resentment. That scene explained so much the years of unilateral conflict, unilateral decisions, the constant feeling of being fighting alone. A few minutes later, the installer came back. We have a solution. As the assembly barely started, we can disassemble at no additional cost. The new delivery will have an increase of 5,000 rubles. Who assumes this expense? I pay, Gleb said, surprising everyone. He took his wallet out of his pocket, his voice hoarse. It was my mistake. It is up to me to fix it. Irina Arkadievna snorted, outraged, but said nothing. While the team dismantled the modules already fixed, Nadia went out to the stairs. I needed air. I needed to think. Minutes later, the door opened. Gleb approached, hesitantly. Nadia, he stammered, not knowing where to start. I'm sorry. Why did you do that? She asked, low. Was it so hard to talk to me? Gleb sighed, running his hand through his hair. Mom has been pressing me for weeks. He says we're throwing money away with rent, that it would be better to invest in her apartment, that one day it will be ours anyway. I tried to explain that it was her money, that we had agreed, but you know her. I know, Nadia confirmed. But the decision was yours, Gleb, not her. Yes, and I spoiled everything, he admitted. I thought you would end up agreeing. It would be a way to save money. She laughed, without humor. And you really believed I would stop living with your mother? After all our conversations about space, about independence. I hope Gleb's silent, embarrassed. May you give in, like always. You will understand later, when the end result comes. Gleb, embarrassed, his eyes fixed to the ground as if his acquittal was written there. That is, did you tell me about a consummate fact? Nadia shook his head, his lips tight in a thin line. Your mother's classic strategy. He didn't deny it. I couldn't. The words came out bitter, dragged. I know I acted like a coward, and I regret deeply. She watched him for long seconds, as if every emotion weighing on an invisible scale. The anger had already dissipated, replaced by deep tiredness and a sharp clarity of those that arise when the mist finally dissipates. 2 years of marriage, and only now, in the face of the silent betrayal of a broken agreement, she saw everything with painful sharpness. Do you know what is the most painful part? His voice was low, but firm. It wasn't you giving in to her pressure. It was you didn't think I even deserved a conversation. It didn't give me the least respect of telling me their plans. The pronoun sounded like a knife. I was afraid you said no, Gleb confessed, his handy hands. Of course I would say no. Nadia almost laughed, a dry sound. It was my money, my kitchen, my plans for the future that, as I found today, you see in a very different way than mine. The apartment door opened with a creak. In a stop, the head of the assembly team cleaned his hands on his pants. We ended the disassembly. We can go to the new address. Do you come with us? She nodded without hesitation. Yes, I need to check out the list of parts and sign the documents. He turned to Gleb, his eyes shining with a determination he had never seen in her. Do you come? He looked at the corridor, as if the answer was written on the peeled walls. And then my mother? The question was like a verdict. Nadia smiled, sad, ironic. There it is. The answer to everything. Without another word, she turned and followed the men who already carried the boxes to the elevator. Gleb reached her only when she was already next to the delivery van, her fingers squeezing the keys of the car. Nadia, wait. I'm going with you. I want to fix things. Fair what? She was exhausted. Today's episode, or our whole life. Everything, he said, firmly for the first time that morning. I'd understood how wrong it was. My mother shouldn't get in our decisions. Nadia stared at him for a long moment, as if looking for something on his face that no longer existed. You know, I'm not sure if we still have decisions to make together. But this kitchen, this I take, because I deserve it. 3 years later, Nadia had coffee on the porch of her country house, the steam of the cup mingling with the morning breeze. Beside, in the cart, Alice, 6 months, grunted sleepy. A hot hand landed on his shoulders, wrapping it with a wool shawl. Isn't it cold? Victor's voice was low. Loving. She smiled, leaning her face to receive her kiss. Today is hot. Alice moved, but did not wake up, a small miracle, considering that usually, by that time, would already require attention with hungry shouts. Our princess still sleeps, joked Victor, peering her daughter. It must be giving a rare gift to Mom. Nadia looked at her daughter with a tenderness that hurt. Gleb's divorce had been surprisingly quiet. That discussion by the kitchen was the drop of water in a glass already overflowing with resentment. She had moved on her own, took with her kitchen now a central piece in her new home, and meses later, he met Victor, a successful architect, with whom he found to have more in common than he imagined. Gleb, he learned from common friends, lived with his mother for a while after the separation, but in an unexpected turn, he finally broke the umbilical cord. He bought a small, deadline studio and faced the fury of Arena Arcade even for the first time in his life. Now I worked in an IT company, dating a girl and, as a result, learned to build relationships without toxic strings. What are you thinking about? Victor caressed his arm. How life goes around, said Nadia, her fingers playing with the edge of the cup. You know, sometimes I think you should thank Gleb and his mother. Why? Victor frowned, intrigued, because it was at that time, with that kitchen, I understood my value. I realized what I really wanted from life. She smiled, bitter and sweet at the same time. If it wasn't for that conflict, I could have stayed for years trying to fit myself, shaping myself to the desires of others. Victor pulled her closer, kissing her temple. So I must thank you too. Otherwise, we would never have known each other. A soft whimper came from the cart. Alice began to wake up. Nadia took her daughter on her lap, squeezing her against her chest. Do you know what's funny? He murmured, looking at Victor. That kitchen, what started it all, became my restart symbol. Every time I cook on it, I remember I will never let someone decide for me again. And cook very well, by the way, blinked Victor, kissing his head. Tonight you will have one more reason to shine. Your parents and my brother come to dinner. Let's celebrate the new house. Nadia smiled, watching her daughter stretched and her husband by her side. Life, after all, had rearranged, and it all started when, 3 years earlier, she chose not to give in, not by the kitchen, not for itself,